Songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to NIVO over Zoom video. NIVO talked about growing up in the Bay Area and how he got into music and songwriting. He also talked to us about his 3 current projects, Wave God, Before Wave God, and the upcoming After Wave God records, and the new track he has with Rexx Life Raj, who we also interviewed. You could check that interview out as well. They're all up now on our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Bringing It Backwards, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with NIVO. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on here, guys.
Sure. Yeah. So our podcast is about your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Well, first talk to us about, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm originally from East Bay Area in California.
What part of the Bay Area? I've lived there for a little bit. I'm just curious.
Basically Walnut Creek, Concord area.
Oh, cool. I lived in Walnut Creek for 4 years. That's so funny. How cool.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
They have a beautiful downtown. I love that.
Yeah. It's getting really nice too, actually. Past couple of years, it's been getting, they've been just renovating it and, turning it into some high class experience. So that's been interesting to watch. Cool. But really just like all over the Bay. I mean, that's kind of where I spend most of the time, but, San Francisco, I have a bunch of friends that live out there, and Berkeley as well. So, and also like Fremont and San Jose. So really the whole Bay Area kind of was my home growing up.
Right on. And how did you get into music?
Actually, one of my buddies from high school, now somebody that I'm actually making music with pretty seriously full time. He goes by SOBHHIΗ. Actually the #1 hip hop and R&B artist across all platforms in Dubai right now. So he's had a pretty awesome journey himself, but
wow,
he actually got me involved in music in our sophomore year English class.
Interesting. How did he do that?
There was like some exercise where we were supposed to go up and read a poem that either we picked out of a book of poems, or that we wrote ourselves. I forget where the poem came from, but when it was my turn, I went up in front of the class and I rapped my poem.
Oh, interesting.
He came up to me after the class. I know it's pretty funny, actually. He came up to me after the class and was like, yo, like, I have a studio in my room. I'm making music. I'm a producer, all this stuff. You should come by. Like, I liked your rap. You should come by and record something, And I was like, all right, I'm down. Seems fun, whatever. And I came by one day with a couple other friends. He invited like me and like a couple other guys from our class. And I came over to his spot and he had everything laid out for us. He had like a bench, or not like a bench, but like a foldable table with chairs. And he literally had pieces of paper and pencils on each table and was like, all right, we're going to get to work. And that was it. He was real serious and real organized about everything. And that was really it. Ever since then, we've been making music together, and I fell in love with it. Like, we made our first song. We showed it to the whole class. People loved it. And more than anything, like, that was the first time I was able to experience like putting my own voice on a beat and hearing it back. And when I heard it back, I was like, damn, this is awesome. Like, I want to do more of this. Like, I love listening to my own music, and I love just creating and then seeing the finished product is like so fulfilling. And,
sure.
From that point on, I was just hooked, and I started, working. I like downloaded FL Studio that same week. And that's like the software that I started with. And, it just rest is history. Just started going from there.
And that's and the person that you met in class that's the guy that's the #1 rapper in Dubai.
Wow. He's now the number. Yeah.
How did that happen for him? I'm just curious. Like, is he from there originally, or did they just
Yeah,
adapted to his music?
so he's from there, and I just I met him in high school, and he was always making music, and so I think and his like release sort of schedule was very frequent, and he's just like a hardworking guy that makes really good music. And being from that region, they don't really have a hip hop artist that embodies like a lot of things that people in the Eastern world really are infatuated with about the Western culture, especially around hip hop. And they don't have like a Drake or like somebody that really reps that region. And he was sort of a couple of years ago the first guy to really start doing that. And since there was like kind of that emptiness in that region, but at the same time like a hunger for that from like the listeners and just like the people that grow up there, he kind of filled that void with quality music over the past couple of years, and is risen to the top, just because the people there really wanted that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And he's continuing to grow. So that's been also an incredible journey to just kind of watch and be a part of, and see as well, especially because that's like the guy that I've grown up with coming up in this game.
Right. Yeah.
So,
that's really cool. That's really cool. Well, with that, like after the day that you guys all met at his house, did you just continue working on music together? Like what was the next step for you?
Yeah, I mean, we never really took it super serious until like we finished a couple songs, and then we started to like really promote it to like other schools in the area. So I mean, the next immediate step was really just it wasn't anything that we like planned. It was just like, let's just do it again, and make more music. And there wasn't like a regimen or anything that we like, all right, now we did this one song, like now let's do this, and this. It's like, let's just do it again and see what happens. And so we just kept making music together because it was fun. And then after we had like, a collection of songs that we were really happy about, regardless of what other people thought, like we thought they were like hits, like the hits of the hits.
Sure.
And so he started just like pushing them around, the Bay Area, like literally like printing out flyers, showing up to clubs and just passing them out, asking to perform, like literally leaving hundreds of flyers in school lunchrooms right before or after lunch so people would see them, like doing anything we could to get some sort of notoriety in like in our like local scene. Like we would even, this was like back in the MySpace days, so like we even had a bot that we were running on MySpace that
wow
that's
innovative.
It would literally like message people and like introduce them to us on MySpace, like, hey, we're an upcoming group, we make hip hop bangers, and we're coming up in this area, keep us, look out for us. And then we'd friend them. We'd friend them from our artist account on MySpace to make them feel like part of the movement. And like, that was like, one of the things we did. And then we tried to network with people like that were hosts of, venues or, events, and like, like little club events, things like that. We would try and perform. There's one time I remember we set up a performance, like a barbecue / live event, where we literally like ordered pizza and like food for people to grill, like as part of a picnic or something. And we performed live outside, like things like that.
That's cool.
So
just kind of creating your own shows and you kind of DIY.
Yeah, just trying to pop off. Yeah, trying to do whatever we could to pop off it. And I think the focus was more so on just like popping off locally back in the day, but like the vision was like ultimately to like, when up.
Sure.
That's kind of the path that we're still on. Yeah.
When did you start seeing some significant growth?
I would say, just like not until a couple of years ago when we started to like really take it seriously again. So like that was back in high school. And then, that was, many years ago, and then took some time off, focused on other things, like still made music during that time period, but like it was more of like a side thing and less of like, this is what I'm trying to do, And then that didn't happen until like a couple of years ago when we really got serious. And everybody on our team has like a tech background. And so we've kind of been using our tech experience over the past few years to really take advantage of like digital media and other ways of, getting buzz online. And that's kind of over these past few years when the play counts started to go up and people started to reach out to work with us and things like that. So
that's cool. With that, what was the reason that you went back to music?
That's a really good question. I mean,
like you said, you're away from it for a while.
I was never really away from it. It was just like there's always ups and downs where the level of focus on music was, would vary, throughout time, but it was always part of my life. Like I never like fully went away from it. And I think it was just more so like realizing that, this is something that I want to do. Like this is something that I truly love, and I can't really see myself doing anything else, with my life. Like I could live a happy life not doing music professionally, but I would still be making music. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And as soon as I realized that, I was like, it might as well just take this and make this my main priority, because it's something I'm going to be doing anyways, and it's something I love to do. So, like I still work another job, but it's all with the goal of making this the main thing.
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome that you're back in it and you're back doing it, because that looks like you put out a couple records last year.
Yeah, a couple projects actually. So started with like before last year, I was just releasing singles, just to kind of like, I have like a variety of sounds that I, kind of toy with between like whatever mood I'm in when I make music. And, the preceding years to 2019 or 2020, I mean, sorry, were kind of just exploring those sounds and releasing them and seeing people's reactions to them. And after doing that, I kind of realized like what sounds are really me, and focusing on those more. And then after I did that, that like before 2020, coming into 2020, I kind of had a new mindset where it was more of just like, I don't want to, I'm cool with releasing singles, but more than anything else, I want, when people discover me as an artist and they come to like either my Spotify or my Apple Music, they see like a clean profile with like bodies of work, as opposed to like scattered singles, that just because people can more attach to like the sound that like each of my individual sounds, because I can present it present them in like a way that is unique and independent for that sound by way of projects. And so what I did was I re-released a lot of those singles with like a couple new tracks attached to that body of work as a project. And it was kind of under this pretense of a character that I have in my creative world called Wave God, who's like a NIVO, who's like an alternate form of NIVO. Okay. And all of my projects were around Wave God coming to birth, and then really just after Wave God. And so like the BWG was the first project, which is before Wave God. And then I came in and boom, Wave God which is my most up-to-date sound. And now I'm currently working on AWG, which is after Wave God, although there are some other projects that I have in mind that I may release first. So it's just I'm just kind of figuring that out as I create new songs and figure out which project or which character these next few songs fall under.
Interesting.
It just depends on how the recording sessions and singles come out. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it.
So either if it's a certain sound deal, it'll be either before Wave God or after, or another record as Wave God?
Well, before Wave God and Wave God are already out. But
right.
The Wave
not
God series is its own vibe. You know what I mean?
Got it. Okay.
And so after Wave God is like the next part of that series.
Sure.
But then there's another character that's actually emerging. And he goes by Glam Lord, and he's coming in actually pretty rapidly based on these past few sessions that I've been having in the studio. Mm-hmm. They've been pretty like Glam Lord has really made his presence felt, and so it's kind of just like figuring out which project I go with next. But ultimately, all these projects are eventually going to come out.
That's amazing. And I did see that you were working with Rexx Life Raj.
Yeah.
I had him on the show before. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's really awesome.
How do you know him and how'd that connection start?
So that's a pretty interesting one. I actually discovered Rexx on SoundCloud back in, I think it was 2015. So wow. Like a while ago. Mm-hmm. And he was like, just coming up. I saw Empire post about him, and they were pretty like new 5 years ago. They really only had, at least from what I was seeing, just like a SoundCloud presence. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really seeing them anywhere else, but they were posting some pretty cool artists, specifically Bay Area artists. And Rexx was one of them. And so I was like in a phase where I was like studying a lot for something. And so I would just always go to Empire's page and listen to whatever they had and lock in. And that's kind of like how I discovered him and really started liking his music and following him over time. And then I would say a year later, I made this beat, which is the beat for the song that I now have with Rexx. The song is called Runnin It Up. Mm-hmm. And it comes out on the 22nd of January. But I made the beat, and I knew that that song was going to be special just because it was like a really unique beat, and everybody I showed it to had it on repeat multiple times or asked me to play it again. And just like the reaction was so much more, was just so much greater for that beat than anything else that I've showed to people. And so that was kind of happening on the side. And so my fandom for Rexx was growing, and in parallel, this beat was like, growing to be people's favorites when I showed it to them. And so I kind of like wanted to put a big name on the beat, and I started shopping it around. And I shopped it around to a couple artists who like really liked it and tried to write to it, but couldn't actually, like, literally they told me, I can't write to this. It's such a cool beat, but I just can't come up with anything that's me or my flow or anything. So I just like wound up with this beat. And even myself, like, I didn't really know what to do with it at that time, because I was still more deeper into like my producer bag than I was into like my overall artist bag. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of sat on it for a bit. And then eventually I just decided to reach out to Rexx and see if, he didn't know who I was, but reach out to him and see like if he's doing features. And I really liked the way that he constructs melodies and his voice and all that stuff. It's pretty advanced in my opinion. And so mm-hmm. I wanted to see what he could do on the beat, just because everybody else I showed it to, all the other artists I showed it to, like, they couldn't do anything with it. So I sent it to Rexx, and a couple days later, he sent it back to me with the hook. and it was great. And so again, like I couldn't get anybody else on it. And so literally, 4 years later, I stumble back upon this project in my my computer, and I'm like, I'm gonna try and do something with this myself now that I'm like releasing my own songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so 4 years in the making, I finally am able to create a song out of that experience. And so it's probably like my most my piece of work that has taken the longest from like a timeline perspective, and also just like my most thoughtful piece of work, just because like I tried so many different things and ran it by so many different people before I finally came up with what it is now, which is myself featuring Rexx. And so that's kind of how that came about.
That's amazing.
And when I reached out to him,
Bay Area guy, right?
Yeah, he's like he really holds it down for the Bay Area and just the whole overall West Coast sound in general. And I mean, when I reached out to him, I was just talking with his manager, and they were super friendly and down to work. So yeah,
that's amazing. That's awesome. And that's coming out in a couple weeks now, right?
Couple weeks now, yeah. 4 years in the making.
Wow, very exciting. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
And NIVO, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, man. This has been awesome.
This is great, man. I really appreciate you. I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I would just say, if you really love it, stick with it, and don't let anybody's opinions deter you from what you really feel and about the music and what you really feel you want to do with it. That's probably the biggest thing. I think if you can step above all the noise in your pursuit for making music a career, you'll be successful, or find a path where you'll be really happy doing what you love.